Bava Batra, page 89. We are 8 lines from the bottom, from the top of the page. Very important to remember when we study this important parak, the idea which the Chafetz Chaim followed the Rashbam said to us. The Rashbam Ilchot Mechira, chapter 24, tells us that if a person did not spell out all the nuances, all the specifications in the sale, you open the door for problems. And one of the things that happen, which we revisit this subject throughout the parak, selling a unspecified field, unspecified property, unspecified even a place that contain just a sort of a combination of commercial residential but without specification of movable objects, it opens the door for problems, what it's really part of the sale or what not. So here we're going to different avenues of sale. Part of that, it's a reflection what we learn in the Torah. I assume in this crowd we well known the story of Abraham purchased the estate from Ephron, and when he purchased the gravesite for his late wife Sarah and all the pairs, it's called the cave of Machpelah. The Torah said, and I just quote, they said v'chol asher b'chol gvulo saviv, meaning not just buying the property of the cave of Machpelah, but also all the surrounded. The question is, why do we need? And in short, the way that the Gemarrah tells us and the Rashbam and others, it's a clear simun, clear sign, a clear borderline that spell out not only the borderlines but also the contain of the estates, since it is not just the grave itself in the cave, but also trees and other things in that field. So we're going to specifications from simple thing like selling a house. Is that included the mezuzot, doorposts, certain additional that the person puts around windows and other parts of the property or not? Another question is when you have palm trees or trees in the field, you need a certain string to get on that tree. Is that included or not? A good example for that is a question that posted not long ago to a great Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, was a leader in American Jewish community here in this state of New York. And his book called Igrot Moshe in Choshet Mishpat, Chelek Aleph Siman Nun Gimel, it's a chapter 53 in his first book. It was a question, I'm just paraphrasing the question. A fellow sold the estate, but he made a certain variation for the city appraisal to reduce taxes from the estate. Meaning he put certain walls and certain things for his entire property. The question is, those additional items that he placed, is that part of the sale or not? And Rav Feinstein have a long writing teshuva, a response based on this Gemara. So let's start. As we said, 69, 8 lines from the top of the page. The Mishnah tells us, "Ve'et hakanim shebakeren shehem letzorko," meaning one who sells a field, he also sells the reeds in the vineyard that are for its use. So the Gemara asks a question. What do you mean by using the term kanim, reeds? Kanim mai avidetaihu. What is their purpose in the vineyard? Why do you need it? So the Gemara said, Amrei devei Rabbi Yanai, kanim hamechulakim, which is reeds that are split on the top, and basically shemamidim tachat agfanim, that placed under the vines so that the brooks of the vines can rest on them. And the Meiri explained, the whole goal is the Rashbam that they will not fall to the ground. So that's basically called tashmishei hakerem, one of the items that needs to be used for the vineyard, and therefore they are part of the sale. So now the Gemara elaborates how much this type of reeds needs to be prepared for that purpose, and the Gemara said it's a different view. Le Rabbi Meir de Mishapian, af al gav de lo mokman. So if you follow the Rabbi Meir, who said that they have to have those reeds that have been smooth and made ready for this purpose, even though they are not yet set in their place, according to the sages, it's the Mishnah speaks clearly about reeds that are already in their place. So the way that we derive from the Rashbam, you see it also in the Prisha, in Choshen Mishpat Reish Vav, and you see it in Shita Mekubetzet. You see that those reeds are not for sale at the time. They are not under the vineyards at the time of the sale, because obviously they are not part of the sale. Here, based on the Gemara we studied in Bava Metzia 103, is a place that they constantly putting reeds in that vineyard, and that's the reason why the rabbis agree that it should be there at the time of the sale. But anyway, the Mishnah continues and it said ve'et hatvu'a hamechuberet lakarka, which is all these produce that attach to the ground, it's part of the sale together with the sadeh, with the field. So the Gemara said ve'af al gav dimtai lemichtzad, even though the time has already come for the produce to be cut down. So you don't treat it as it's already cut down. And the Yad Ramah explains, because we followed the da'at ha-mocher, the mindset of the seller. If he wants to incorporate the sale of that produce within the sale of the field, then it's part of it. Otherwise, it's very unlikely to think that he will cut that produce before the sale or leave it for him at the time of the sale. But anyway, the Mishnah continues and said, "Ve'et chitzat hakanim shepchuta mibeit rova." That's a small part of the field, which is a cluster of reeds that occupy less than beit rova, small part. Ve'af al gav, even though the ali made, that these reeds are thick, but they are thick, you think that is less than pachot mirova, mibeit rova akav. So the Nimukei Yosef and others said that that's the chidush here, that's the beauty of that even in that size and that amount is still part, we incorporated that with the sale. Sometimes you think it's so small, who cares? No. Ve'et hashomera she'ena asuya betit, even the watch station that's not plastered with clay. Usually it's used to avoid thieves to come in, etc. Afal gav de lo kvi'a be'ar'ah, even though they are not fixed in the ground. In Israel we used to call it the budke, the place that people place, but it's not permanent in the field. So anyway, ve'et charuv shelo murkav ve'et betulat hashikma. So also the charuv tree that is not being grafted and the untrimmed sycamore. So they said afal gav de alimei, that they are big and thick. That's the chidush. But they incorporate with the field as well. But he has not sold along with the field the stones that are not designated for use of the field. So what you see, the assumption that the Mishnah speaks of stones that are placed on the sheaves to prevent them from being scattered. לרבי מאיר דלא מתקנן, לרבנן דלא מחתן. Follow the Rabbi Meir, they're not ready to be used for this purpose. According to the sages, that they are not included in a cell if they are not yet placed on them. ולאולה דאמר אבנים הסדורות לגדר. But according to Ula, who said that this is stones that are arranged for the future building of a fence for the field. לרבי מאיר דלא מתקנן. לרבנן דלא סידרן. According to Rabbi Meir, where the stone are not ready to be used. According to the sages, where the stone were not yet arranged for building fence. So even though they were ready to be used for that purpose, but it's not considered tashmish kavua shel hasadeh. It's not permanent use for the field. Then the Mishnah continue, ולא את הקנים שבכרם שאינן לצורכו. That not the reeds, not sold the reeds that in the vineyard that are not designated for its use. לרבי מאיר דלא משפיין, לרבנן דלא מוקמן. According to Rabbi Meir, it's because the reeds are not smooth. According to the sages, the reeds that are not set yet for its place, even if they are smooth. So the Mishnah further teaches us, ולא את התבואה התלושה מן הקרקע, and not the produce that detached from the ground. So they said, ואף על גב דצריכה להרעה, even though it still require the ground, which means that the reed to be left in the field in order to dry out completely. ולא את חיצת הקנים שהיא בית רובע, and not the reeds that occupied בית רובע, ואף על גב דקטיני, even they are thin, but as we said, it's sold one and not two, so they have independent חשיבות בפני עצמה, independent entity. אמר רבי חייא בר אבא, אמר רבי יוחנן, לא חיצת הקנים בלבד, אלא אפילו ערוגה קטנה של בשמים ויש לה שם בפני עצמה. Even the small garden bed of spices, it's a separate entity and non-נמכרת עמה. It's not part of the, is not sold along with the field. אמר רב פאפא, והוא דקראו לה ורדה דיפלניה. That's what it's called, roses of so and so. So establishing the name of its own, so in a way is לא בטל בשדה הגדול. Anyway, ולא את השום מהירה, עשויה בתית, as we said, is like the budke, use it in Arabic, in Hebrew. ואף על גב דמחברה בהרעה, even though that it's attached to the ground, it's still considered a separate entity and not part of the field. We don't say that because it's attached to the ground, so it's a part of the estate and sell it. Only if they have these plasters, metuyachat betit. That's the only way Rashbam said that we call it part of that. Now the Bach did not have this giusa, but anyway we say it. ולא את חרוב המרוכב ולא סדן השקמה ואף על גב דקטיני, which means that each of them has חשיבות בפני עצמה, independent, Tosfot have a different view. Anyway, as we said, the Chafetz Chaim tells us that if you don't spell out the cell clearly, then we'll always have these type of problems. But people does that, people consider each and every one of them as a entity. By Rabbi Lazar malbenot shel ptachim. So here he speaks about door frames. We can say that make it fancy. How they do it? You go to certain houses, they have a ceramic, very fancy ceramic, etc. It's a story about Chafetz Chaim mentioned. Once he came to an extremely wealthy person. He saw the house goes on, the owner with the different fancy floors and walls and ceilings and all different materials. For a long time he goes on different room in the house, how he decorated it. So the Chafetz Chaim said to him, I don't see the Shas here. I don't see the basic books of learning here. What gain you have from all this fanciness if you don't have the heart, the foundation, which is the books, the studies. But anyway, היכא דמחברי בטינה, באי רבי אלעזר מלבנות של פתחים, מהו? So Rabbi Lazar asked a question, how you treated a door's frame. So in general, we know that we have the mezuzot, we have the issue of the doorposts. Are they sold together with the house or not? So now the Gemara elaborates and explains the question. If you tell me that they are typically attached with a clay, it's not an issue. The ha-mechaber, because it's attached. It's attached to the house, and so you sell it along the house. The only problem is when it's connected with a small wooden page, so it's easy to detach them. So again, you have to differentiate between clay and wooden part. So how do you treat this type of case? So you don't have any clear resolution, and the Gemara said, Teiku tishbi yetaretz kushiyot ve'ibayot. So if it's left as a unsolved problem, as a safek, ambiguity, it's not clear, so therefore, hamotzi mechaveiro alav haraya, you have the burden, the Rashbam. And the Rambam said in L'chot Mechira, chapter 25, that the burden, it's upon the one who wanted. And here we have another dilemma, by Rabbi Zeira, malbenot shel chalonot, we call it in Hebrew mashkofim, the window frames. Mi amrinan lenoi be'alma u de'avidei, or dilma kevdan mechabre mechabre. Do you tell me that it's used for beauty only? Which, you know, many times they do that in the different real estates. They use it as an ornament to make it beauty, to make the house looks nice, or because it's attached to the windows, considering attachment, and therefore you sell it as a package. So the question is, the Rashbam said, if it's a part of the house or not part of the house. You take it lenoi for the beauty, for the advanced beauty of the house, or you take it lechizuk, to strengthen, and therefore if it's strengthened, it's part of the house. So the Gemara said, Teiku, the same story, it's unresolved issue. By Rabbi Yirmiyah malbenot shel kar'ei hamita, how you treated stands of the legs of the bed. Kol heicha de mitaltelei bahada lo tibaelach, as long as you can move them from one location to another, which means that they attach in the regular nail or similar thing, so it's not the issue. The hamitaltelei, because you can move it, so it's part of that. The issue is when it's not moved along with the bed. So they said, Teiku, it's not a unsolved issue. Velo et charuv hamurkav, velo sadan hashikma. The Mishnah said that one sell a field is not with the charuv tree and not with sadan hashikma, which is the synchron trunk. So they said, ve'afalgav diktinei, even though that they are very thin, very small. So even it's such a small size. Now, not everyone have this girsa. There are those who do not add these words. Page 69b. And this is a fascinating thought, as we said in the introduction, the story of Abraham and Ephron in the book of Bereshit, chapter 23, when Abraham lost his wife Sarah, and he was negotiating with a wicked person by the name of Ephron, that he has some type of ownership of that estate in Hebron, cave of Machpelah, and the text said, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, the Amar Ka vayakom sde Ephron asher b'machela, and the pasuk said, השדה והמערה אשר בו וכל העץ אשר בשדה אשר בגבולו סביב. They mention all the field and the cave and everything around. Why you need to be so verbose, so garlic, so talkative? You can have it in a succinct, in a short statement that he purchased the cave of Machpelah. So they said שצריך מיט שצריך לגבול סביב, יצאו אלו שאין צריכים לגבול. So here, or some said gvul saviv, so to exclude the grafted haruv and synchrom trunk, which does not require boundary around them, stand out individually on their own. אמר רב משרשיה, מכאן למצרים מן התורה. We derive from that the acquisition of the actual boundaries in a cell, it's biblical. In short, as we said, the Rambam tells us that the best advice is צריך לסמן ברורות ומפורטות. You have to put it in a very spell out clear, and we avoid all this aggravation. אמר רב יהודה, היימן דמזבן ארעה לחברי, a fellow that's selling a state to another, צריך למכתב לי, he need to spell out in a contract. קנה לך דקלין ותעלין והוצין וציצין. Is an example. Acquire for yourself the palm tree, the dates, the branches and the seedling. ואף אגב דחי לא כתב לי, הכי קנה, that even if he did not write this for him, the buyer will still acquire all these entities. There's different גרסאות here. Anyway, אפילו אחרי שופרד השתראו. Even so, it is in enhancement of the bill of sale that is right all the details of the transaction, so that there to be a possible room for disagreement. And obviously, as we said, the Ran and the Rambam and everyone else, the Sma said that the derivative first and foremost is the more clearer the contract, the better. Amar le ar'a v'diklei, if the seller said to the buyer, I'm selling you the land and palm trees, Chazinan, we have to examine. If you have the palm tree, you need to be given to vi. So, but if he is a mortgage to another person, he must redeem the two palm tree and give them to the buyer. Otherwise, it's considering a wrong deal and mistaken transaction, and the sale is void. The Chazel Diklei Kamarli, which means he meant to say that the estate is good to plant palm tree, and not that they have a palm tree in the plan. Amar levar midikla planya chazinan. If he said I excluded certain palm trees, so you have to examine what exactly involved here in this palm tree. Idikla tavahu, if it's a quality, which means according to Rashbam and others, that is an average palm tree that they have some fruits. And that's the way the Ravid said in Shita Mekubetzet. So therefore, idikla bishahu. Bisha, most of the Mefarshim said that doesn't mean that it's bad. It means that the average score, as we said, the Rashbam said, it's not so great, which means in a way it's low. Kol sheken hanach. So obviously, if you treat it that way, it's for sure. Did he retain for himself the other ones that are of a higher quality? So the next part is when we speak about ilanot, we speak about trees. Do we meant vineyards or not? So amar le levar mi ilanei, it le ilanei, levar mi ilanei. Eat le diklei levar mi diklei, gufnei levan mi gufnei. Fourth option, ilain vegufnei levar mi ilanei. Fifth, ilain vediklei levar mi ilanei, gufei vediklei levar mi gufnei. So you see here 6 different options that basically said that except one, which is assumed that the seller reserved for himself. Amar Rav, kol sheolim lo bechevel havei shiur. Rav hold that if someone sell the field, but is not the trees, any tree that is so tall that you have to climb on a rope in order to harvest its fruit, is retained and is not included in a sale. Kol she'ein olim lo bechevel, but if you don't need to climb the rope in order to retain, so he said lo havei shiur, so it's not retained and sold, and is sold along with the field. Page 70. ודייני גולה, and by the judges of the exile, Shmuel and Karna, say, אמרי כל שהעול כובשו, any tree that it bent back by the yoke of oxen as the animal plowed the ground under the tree, and in this way the tree does not impede the plowing. So he said, לא הווה שיעור, is not retained by the seller. כל שאין העול כובשו הווה שיעור, otherwise it is, ולא פליגי הבדקלי הבאילני. It's not a disagreement because one is talk about the palm tree and the other one talk about other type of trees. So the key is, if you need a rope, that's make a difference, the Rashbam said. But as you see, for all these halachot, as the Rambam said, I would like to share with you the word by the Rambam. It's very short. It's chapter 24 in Hilchot Mechira, halacha Yudalet. Hamocher pardes lechavero. If someone sell the field to his fellow, tzarich shichtov lo. You need to spell out clearly. בטור, in חושן משפט said a little differently. אף על פי שהמוכר שדה בסתם, מחר כל מיני שבה, if someone sold a general field, he meant to sell all the trees there, טוב הוא לפרש בשטר. It's better, advisable, recommendable to spell out in a contract, שמחר אותה וכל מיני שבה. And the סמה explain, ללמדנו שהגמרא שכתבה צריך לכתוב לאו דווקא כאמר צריך, אלא עצה טובה הוא לוקח. So in short, it's a good advice, as we said many times, to do it that way. You basically avoid a lot of misunderstanding and aggravation when it's spelled out clearly. I would like to mention another halakha, since someone asked me, if you have a builder that use a certain public domain and he used to leave there all kind of materials, he needs the consent of people in order to leave it overnight or to leave it in a public domain, and whenever he's done with work, obviously you need to clean it up. But the key is, the moment you use an estate that it's not private, it's public, if you don't have the consent of the people and you leave it overnight, according at least to the Rambam and others, you're in violation. So again, the consent of people and spelling out and make everything clear and unambiguous and lucid is crucial to make things halachically correct.